My husband was a very kind, generous, loving, funny person. He was always willing to help anyone that needed it. He was very good about taking care of his family and being there for anyone that needed it.
My dad, Jason Smith, was a very, very kind man, and to piggyback on what Amy said, he was very kind to others and generous and helpful, and he always was able to keep a cool head when others wouldn't. And I really miss having a person there that just can stay calm and collected and help guide you through a situation when you feel like you're freaking out.
I think some of the things that have been touched on about Jason, he was selfless. In my experience in the Army and everything, the selfless service is one of the core values, but to actually see people implement that and to do it is actually kind of rare. And to see somebody do it completely and to do it very well and to do it all the time, without break, without rest, that was Jason. And like it didn't even faze him. It was who he was. He just wore his heart on his sleeve and help a neighbor in a drop of a hat. He would treat himself to the worst conditions so he could take care of his family and be there for the people that he cared about and people he didn't even know.
He had a really good sense of humor too. He, was the jokester in every room, always making people laugh and just...
Always the life of the party.
Yeah, lots of fun. The best dad jokes. You have to laugh at every dad joke now because he conditioned us that way. Years of training.
Me and Jason were different in a lot of ways. He was the cowboy mechanic. I was the fancy city boy that liked to learn big words. But despite that, and despite the time we grew apart because of our, family conditions and step parents and whatnot, there's nobody on earth I trusted more than him. And I think that says a lot. It says a lot about him.
People knew that he was always willing to help no matter what. It just was effortless to him. It wasn't even a thought. It just was natural.
Yeah. He was easy to be around. You wanted to be around him because of his humor and his uplifting nature. And it was like they were saying, like it didn't matter what the situation was. When you're talking about, he could calm you down and everything. Like he's always making you laugh. He would break the cycle of, this is, I'm angry or I'm sad or I'm hurt. He'd break that cycle for just a second and make you laugh. He was the best human.
He could fix everything. He was a very skilled mechanic and handyman, and within his fire department, it was a volunteer fire department, and he was the one that kept the fleet running, and everybody knew that if they had a problem with their vehicle, they could call him, and all he had to do was sniff the car a little bit. He could tell you what the problem was.
He was insanely smart. He was beyond a lot of people. But it never showed because he practiced humility. It was normal for him to be humble.
Yeah, no matter how smart I tried to be, he was always smarter than me. He was making things that mattered.
Yeah. So our little sisters loved Barbie dolls, and me and Jason, we loved mischief. And one time we snuck into their bedroom and we stole their Barbie dolls and my mom's lipstick. And we put we shoved a knife through one of their little arms like that, and then we put red lipstick around it, and then we hung them both from my lights in my bedroom. And so they were hanging there, and then we left and went and just hung out and waited, and then you hear this screaming coming from our room, and they grab the dolls, they go downstairs, they show my parents. My parents are trying not to laugh and trying to be stern and disciplinary at the same time. Eric, Jason, you better get down here. And we come down there, and they're like, did you guys do this? And we're like, yeah. They're like, okay, well, don't do it anymore. So
it may sound crazy, but we were avid fishermen from about the age of 5, as long as we could hold a pole. And we had a record of every single largemouth bass we caught up until the 20s or 30s. The weight of every single largemouth bass we caught together, up into the dozens, 2 or 3, 4 dozen. I don't remember how high it got, but we had a record, and we were exact about it.
Dad would always pull little pranks on us, and we just always believed him, and he, whenever we were little, we had a Suburban, and he told Julia and I that to lock the Suburban, we had to go press the Chevy symbol on the front of it, so he would have the keys, and every time after we'd get out of the vehicle, we would go to the front of the Suburban when we were kids and race to try and lock the car first and push the Chevy symbol, and he would push the keys right at the right time for us to hear the locks and think that we were actually locking the Suburban by touching the Chevy symbol.
When I went to get my driver's license, the first time I didn't pass, and so we went and got frozen yogurt afterwards. But the second time, as we're driving, I was driving the car there, and he was pointing out where they had just fought this wildfire, and they had protected this one house from the fire getting to it. And so he's pointing that out, and as I'm looking, I'm driving in the direction that I'm looking instead of driving on the road. And so then we get there, and I pass, and so I'm excited, and I'm driving to go and get my license from the other place, and I run over the curb. So he was like, okay, I'm driving home. You're done for the day. But I did get my license that day.
Oh, my favorite memories are simple things. Sitting on the deck together, enjoying sunsets, riding around the country, checking cows. He liked to fish, and we would often go fishing, and I would read a book while he was fishing, or we just had a very simple, peaceful life together that I miss.
Shortly after getting out of high school, I wasn't in the best relationship, and I would have anxiety attacks often, and people could never get me to calm down from them. It would take a long time for me to be able to calm myself down. And my dad was always the one person who, I don't know how he did it, but he was the only person who could ever calm me down. So even when I had moved away from home and I was in that relationship, and I had a really bad one at work one time, and it's hard to talk when you're having them, but I was just trying to get them to call my dad, because I just knew I just needed to hear my dad talk to me to calm me down. And so finally somebody understood what I was trying to tell them, and so they grabbed my phone and dialed him, and he came over the phone to ask me what was going on. As soon as he could tell I was having an anxiety attack, and he started talking to me, it was like instant, and it was always like that with him. He was just so good at that sort of thing, and it was nice to have somebody that could just calm you down that quickly.
He was just a really good, he supported his family really well. I was pretty active in high school, did all the things, and he never missed a single one except for the time he was in the hospital from breaking his leg earlier that day. It was the only game of mine he ever missed. And he felt so bad, he kept apologizing that he had to miss it, and he had a broken leg. He just was always there when you needed him for anything, to support you or give you advice.
He was a self-made person. He had been on his own since high school, so everything that he accomplished was 100% just him making it go forth, even to the extent of living in a two-man tent so he could afford to pay alimony and child support. I think that says a lot about what kind of person he was.
I'd like to thank the whole entire firefighter community, just all the way across the board. I mean, with the whole, within the whole U.S., it's amazed me just the sense of community between all of them, and for people that they have never met and never knew, but they are so kind, and the way that they've reached out.
Supportive.
And yeah, very supportive, and that has been very nice, just to have that sense of community.
So it had to have been probably 20 to 30 miles worth of road that was between where they transported him from to where he was going to the funeral home, and the entire way was just packed with people, and they were all there to see him off. And it spoke to who he was, and it also spoke to the community. And I didn't say thank you, but the magnitude of the support and human kindness and generosity that was present to show what he meant to them. And the fact that it was, it was massive. I mean, for like 20, 30 miles. And so, yeah, it was like 5 different communities came out for that. It was mind. It was tough to conceive. It was mind blowing. It was beyond words, touching. So thank them. Thank that community. Wonderful.
There were actually 3 different escorts for him. He was in the burn unit for a few weeks before he came home, and so they facilitated a welcome home for him while he was still with us to a processional that led him home. And then whenever we brought his body home, they also had a processional for him, and then from the funeral as well. So we are very thankful for all of the people that showed that by way of giving us those gifts on 3 different occasions to show their love and support to us and to him most of all.
Here's to you, with that smile on your face. Here's to you, and what I won't erase, to this moment we share, to the love